Tonight, one of the biggest names in music is making headlines, but not for her chart-topping hits or record-breaking tours. Taylor Swift, the global superstar, adored by millions, is facing renewed scrutiny after fans resurface details about her past relationships, particularly those involving significant age gaps. The conversation ignited online this week after a viral post on X, formerly known as Twitter, pointed out that during her 20s, Swift dated not one, but two teenage boys. For many fans, especially newer members of the Swiftie community, this revelation came as a shock. The discussion quickly exploded across social media, with some expressing discomfort, others defending the singer, and many debating the double standards that surround gender and age in celebrity relationships. Let's rewind the clock. Back in 2009, Taylor Swift was 19 years old, fresh off her early success, with hits like Love Story and You Belong With Me. At the time, she began dating actor Taylor Lautner, who was 17. The two met while filming the romantic comedy Valentine's Day, sharing an on-screen kiss that apparently sparked a real-life connection. Swift later called the experience life-changing, while Lautner admitted she was definitely his type. But the romance fizzled after just 2 months. According to reports, Lautner was more invested in the relationship than she was, and they decided to remain friends. Though the age difference was small, just 2 years, some fans looking back now argue it sets the stage for a pattern in Swift's early dating life. Fast forward 3 years later to 2012, the era of Swift's Red album, when her public image was evolving from country sweetheart to global pop phenomenon. That summer, she began dating Conor Kennedy, the grandson of Robert F. Kennedy Sr. Taylor was 22, and Conor was just 17. Their relationship sparked intense tabloid coverage, not just because of the age gap, but because of Swift's almost cinematic connection to the Kennedy family. She reportedly purchased a $5 million mansion in Cape Cod, within walking distance of the Kennedy compound in Hyannisport. Fans at the time were divided. Was this a genuine romance, or an overly romanticized infatuation with America's political royalty? What made that relationship more complex was the personal tragedy surrounding Conor Kennedy. Just months before dating Swift, his mother, Mary Richardson Kennedy, had died by suicide. At the time, he was navigating immense grief and family turmoil. Some critics suggested that Swift, perhaps unknowingly, stepped into a deeply emotional chapter of his life. By October 2012, the relationship had ended, reportedly amicably. But the age difference continued to raise eyebrows. And while the story eventually faded from headlines, it has resurfaced now as part of a broader conversation about the power dynamics between young adults and teenagers, even in Hollywood. Then came Harry Styles. By late 2012, barely a month after her breakup with Conor, Swift began dating the One Direction heartthrob. She was 23. He was 18. The relationship was brief, lasting roughly 3 months, but it produced some of the most dissected moments in pop culture. From their Central Park strolls to that infamous snowmobile accident in Utah, the Haler romance remains one of the most publicized chapters of Swift's dating history. For many fans, this was seen as a typical young celebrity romance. But with the benefit of hindsight, some are now reassessing it through a different lens, particularly in light of how fiercely the media and public once criticized male stars for dating younger women. Online, the debate has split the internet in two. One side argues that Swift's relationships with teenage partners reflect a troubling imbalance, with one fan writing, "If the roles were reversed, everyone would call the guy creepy." Others counter that these relationships, while notable, were neither illegal nor particularly unusual for young adults in show business. One ex-user wrote, "What's wrong with 23 and 18? That's normal. I've known plenty of couples like that." Still, many say it's not about legality, but perception. how the public treats older women in relationships compared to older men. Historically, male celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio have faced waves of criticism for dating much younger women. The fact that Swift's own dating history is only now being questioned, some argue, reveals a gendered double standard in media and fandom culture. Adding fuel to the discussion is timing. The resurfacing of these old relationships coincides with the release of Swift's latest album, The Life of a Showgirl, which features what fans believe is a diss track aimed at fellow pop star Charli XCX. The song's lyrical references to boys who don't grow up and stories rewritten for fame have prompted speculation about whether Swift herself is responding to the criticism or subtly addressing her past. It wouldn't be the first time she's turned personal controversy into art. From Red to Reputation to Midnights, Swift has repeatedly used her music to reclaim narratives that once painted her in an unflattering light. At 35, Taylor Swift stands as one of the most influential artists of her generation, a billionaire musician whose cultural footprint extends far beyond music. And yet, this latest debate shows how even for someone at the top, the past never quite stays buried. Fans and critics alike are once again forced to confront the uneasy overlap between celebrity, privacy, and morality in pop culture. Should we judge past relationships by today's standards, or accept them as part of youth and growth? The conversation, much like Swift's career itself, is layered and evolving. But one thing remains constant. Whether adored or criticized, Taylor Swift continues to command the world's attention, proving that every chapter of her story, even the most controversial ones, keeps the spotlight firmly on her. Still, the question lingers. Why is this conversation resurfacing now, more than a decade after the relationships took place? Pop culture analysts suggest it's part of a larger shift in how audiences engage with celebrity history. As younger generations discover or rediscover artists like Taylor Swift through platforms such as TikTok, they often re-examine old narratives with modern sensibilities. In today's climate of accountability and awareness around age, consent, and power dynamics, behaviors once overlooked are now reinterpreted. It's not just about Taylor Swift, it's about how society as a whole reevaluates what used to be seen as normal. What's more, the public's fascination with Swift's romantic life has always been a mirror reflecting its own biases. When she dates older men, she's labeled as naive. When she dates younger ones, she's called predatory. It raises the uncomfortable truth that for women in the spotlight, every choice is endlessly scrutinized, even long after the spotlight has moved on. Yet amid the online noise and viral debates, Taylor Swift herself has remained silent, something that for her often speaks volumes. Historically, she's let her art do the talking. If the past is any indication, we may see this very controversy resurface not as an interview soundbite, but as a verse, a bridge, or a metaphor in a future song. And while opinions differ on the morality or meaning of her early relationships, there's no denying the complexity of the discourse they've sparked. It's a reflection of how much pop culture has evolved and how Taylor Swift, intentionally or not, continues to be at the center of that evolution. Whether she's breaking streaming records, redefining the music industry, or reigniting conversations about gender and power, Swift remains what she has always been, a cultural lightning rod. Loved or loathed, discussed or dissected, she's once again reminded the world that in the era of viral narratives, her name alone can still shake the internet.